And this is the thing about life. You go on a journey, you say, when I get successful, but it's the journey that you need to embrace. It's not when you get to where you think you need to be. It's embracing the full length of the ups and downs of the journey. And before you even know it, you're where you want to be. Hey guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm Savia Rocks, and you're entering a world gone good.
Well, hello, my name's Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light on everyday people making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good. This Sunday, May 3rd, Slideshow makes its UK debut. It will be my first live show production I put up here in London. Exciting! The Los Angeles Times Cheers Slideshow is shockingly honest and downright magical. If you're in the London area, grab your £10 seat tickets at citizen-ticket.com. That's citizen-ticket.com. We'd love to see you at our very first ever UK slideshow. Okay, so Slideshow is the perfect transition to introducing you to our guest today because she is going to be a guest in the very first one this Sunday. Savia Rocks wears many good hats. And I got to say, my favorite thing about her is she says yes. She said yes to coming on here, World Gone Good, and she said yes to Slideshow in the same email request. Saying yes is our 2026 slogan, remember? Savia is all about it, and she's here to tell us why we all should simply say yes. Before we cue the music, I know you were like, where's the music? A quick production note. The recording you were about to listen to was haunted, technically. And by technically, I mean the technical side. I lost count how many times issues on our end, my end, with our connection dropping, my mic not fully recording, then her mic wouldn't come through. It was haunted, I tell you. Cursed even. So cursed, we lost our connection completely and had to go old school and jump on Zoom to wrap it up. So enjoy our oh-so-good, if not oh-so-bumpy, conversation. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm doing the thing, and I'm asking this person to follow me and that person to follow me or connect or whatever the hell it's called. And I don't remember who reached out to who here, but I saw your name and I was like, oh, I need to connect with her.
I love connecting with people. I think it's one of the most beautiful things that you can do. I was always told in my life, when the universe wants to bless you, it allows more people to come into your life to teach you things that you may not know or just enhance it in some kind of way. So for me, that's always been a wonderful thing. So either way, we were meant to connect.
Wow. This is amazing so far. This is already starting off as the best show I've ever done. Okay, you are a fellow Brit, even though I'm technically not an official Brit myself. I'm here on a visa. You're a Londoner, a long-time Londoner. Did you grow up here?
Yeah, so I grew up in the beautiful area of West London. So I'm in right near central London, to be quite fair. I'm near Notting Hill Gate, and that's a beautiful area to be in. It has culture, it has class, it has, so many creative people here. It has colours, you name it, it has it. And that's why I find it the best place to be. So for me, growing up in London is one of the best places that I could ever wish for, to be quite fair. I know everywhere in the world has somewhere beautiful, but I always believe, again, it's about your mindset and what you want to achieve in your life and the choices that you make in your life. So having those choices and being put anywhere in the world, I just find that use them to your advantage and find the opportunity that you need to not just help yourself, but help people.
And I'm 2 stops on the Edgware line away from you. I'm between Bayswater and Paddington stations, which means that's like roughly 1,500 coffee shops between us. That's how we track how far things are in London, right? By coffee shops.
That's a lot of coffee shops, Steve.
Come on. Am I accurate in that? What do you think?
No, you are accurate in that. But you know the funny thing is, Steve, right? Coffee makes me extremely high. I can't drink coffee like any other normal person. So I have to use hot chocolate. I can't drink coffee at all.
What a horrible thing to substitute in.
I have to substitute with hot chocolate because if you ever give me any kind of coffee, I will be bouncing off the walls extremely. But it's hilarious to watch. But at the same time, yeah, I'm a hot chocolate girl.
I love it. I have friends in town recently, and we were walking down the street and they were like Costa Coffee, Black Sheep, Starbucks, Blank Street. They're like calling them out. And they're like, everything's a coffee shop here. And then one of them thought Blank Street was an actual street.
I wouldn't be surprised to be quite fair. I think I don't think there's anything in your mind that you can't think of that there isn't a street. It's just that you yourself haven't found it yet. But I guarantee if you say anything in your mind, it's most probably already been done or it's somewhere for you to find.
So you have a big connection then. Do you feel like you've always been a connected person to where you are and the space you're in and the space you want to be in?
I do believe so. I think for me, it started when I was severely young. I've always been quite a spiritual person. I've always felt like my purpose has been to connect people, to allow people to be their authentic self, to show up in the world for people, to stand up for people. You know, I'm one of those people that can go into a job and get fired and I wouldn't care. Um, I just kind of see like that in a way for me. There, nothing can keep you in a space if you're not meant to be there. I always believe that. I always believe my focus in life is to be able to help people. I always believe that words have power. And that's why being a writer is one of the best things I think has ever happened to me. I also feel like that's been passed down to me maybe by my grandmother who wanted to be a writer but never got to be. I always say that she got pregnant with my mother and then had to live her life in the sense of looking after my mother. So she never really got to be a photographer. She never really got to be a writer. But it's funny how these generational things get passed down to someone else. When she found out that how I was a writer and I won awards, she actually cried, which was sentimental, but a beautiful thing also because she turned around to me and she said, "You're doing everything that I've always wanted to do in my life." So I don't feel like the talent that I had been wasted because it's been passed down to another generation. So for me, that's fulfilling. I've always felt like people are key in the world. And like I said before, it's just about making these fulfilling choices. We all do things that are wrong in our life or we feel are wrong in our life. But the main thing is you can't just say to yourself, because I've made one bad decision in my life that will counteract your life for the rest of your life. That's not true. You can always make another choice which helps you to counteract that choice that you've already made, making you go onto another path that can be positive. So I have this optimism in my heart for people, regardless of what's going on in the world. As we know, we can also really talk about so many different things that are going on in the world that will be here for hours, Steve. But at the same
Right.
time, there's something in my heart that says if we pull together, if we stand together as people, we can literally do anything, but it has to come from an optimistic, pure, kind place. And kindness has always been key for me.
Well, there's science behind this. Our brains are naturally programmed toward the negative, toward fear, toward the disbelief of things.
Mm.
And that's like a protection device, right? Because we're always trying to protect ourselves.
Survival mode, literally.
Survival mode, right. So my question to you then becomes, what was the key moment for you in your life? Were you raised like this to believe in the best in people? You can't tell me as a writer, as a fellow writer myself, doors have not been shut in your face, or they wouldn't even let you near the door, as I've come myself to find many, many times.
You know what, Steve? Me and you can talk about this for literally forever. Like, when I mean forever, we can talk about this forever. I agree with you 100%. So, even now, doors get closed in my face. Even as a songwriter, when you're pitching a song to an established artist and that door gets no. We don't want this song, or we want you to change it, or we want to add our stuff into it. There are so many different avenues that we can go down when we talk about this. Um, Art is something precious. Art is a gift. Often, like I kindly said, doors often get closed at you, but you yourself have to kick open those doors and just find another avenue. To be fair, there are too many people in the world for you to concentrate on one door closing when another window or another door has opened for you. The problem that people have in the world is that they focus on the door that's been closed so much that they lose all the opportunities that have opened for them. And that's hard. And I know how hard that is because we as creative people, we are very emotional.
And personal. It's a piece of us.
Yeah, we're sensitive. And that's okay too. It's okay to be sensitive. And I think we emotionally connect to people on a completely different level. Everything. It could be spiritual, it could be the universe itself, it could be nature, it could be falling in love with someone, it could be loving someone, it could be caring about someone. We all connect as creative people in a completely different way. And I find also that a lot of people misunderstand who we are as people when we're creative. Like, for example, you go for, I've had this before, you go for a bank loan and you're a creative person. They never give it to you because they, they always, they always tell you you ain't going to be able to pay it back. But,
Right, right.
but lucky for me, I've never been in a situation where I haven't been able to do that. I've been very, very blessed. I've been very, very lucky. But for people out there who are just starting out or on a curveball of going around in circles or this cycle and keep bouncing off of walls, it will happen for you. You just have to stay consistent. And I always say the hardest times showed the best resilience out of you, because those are the times where you find out who your friends are, you find out who loves you, who cares for you, who believes in what you do, but you also find out how much you believe in yourself when you're in a dark place or a place that you feel like you're not coming out from. So when it comes to doors being closed in my face, Steve, they close every day. At the same time, what makes me resilient is that optimism in my heart and the support that I have from the people who are around me, who are a close knit circle, who believe in my writing, who say, Savia, your writing saved my life, or Savia, every time you send something out, it comes straight from the heart. It's not something that you just write and you just send out just for people to read. No, I don't believe in that, Steve. I thoroughly believe in writing from the ambience of my heart. It needs to come from there. It needs to come from a universal space. Even when I write the inspirational stories every week, for my podcast, I let the universe decide what the title is. I don't decide what the title is of what I'm about to write for someone. And I find that works for me. You have to find the purpose of what works for you in the world. And don't let anybody have their opinion upon you, because everyone's going to have an opinion, especially the people who have power or money or want to control you in some kind of way. They're going to want to be able to control you. But remember, you're the creative one. They're just a middleman. So saying that, it's hard to do, but at the same time, when you learn to step into your own self-worth, and that's a beautiful thing too, stepping into self-worth and understanding what you are worth as an individual in this world, there is nothing better. And allowing you to be free in your creativity and in your purpose. Like I said, there are too many people in the world for you to only concentrate on one. There are millions. You will find your tribe of people, and those people will focus on you and push you to grow, and you will do the same for them.
And your tribe of people may be people you never even get to physically meet. It's the people out there listening right now that's hearing something in your voice, that's hearing something that they're thinking or have been thinking. When I have somebody like you on, if there's somebody listening right now and they're like thinking, they're standing on that cliff, do I take the leap? When they hear you talking, they go ahead and they jump. They go ahead, because there's a lot of people when the road forks, and I've been there, you go right, do you go left, do you go at all? One of the biggest decisions I made last year was to sell our house in California, get the visa, move to London. And I did this in my 50s. I'm not still in my 20s, so it's never too late.
Yeah, it's funny you actually say that because there are so many people in the world who start a company in their 50s, 60s, 70s. It doesn't matter. I agree with you. It doesn't matter what age you are. We all have a purpose on this planet, and it's finding that purpose to be able to eloquently do what we do and how we do it because somebody is waiting for you to do it. 100%.
I agree. Now, you have so many titles going on here. Hold on. I'm getting a list out here, people. Let me see. Okay. Savia is a writer, a singer, songwriter, a poet, a photographer, and a podcaster. My God, when do you sleep?
It's funny you say that. I went to bed just last night at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's funny. And then I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Brains racing, or you just have energy? What's going on?
I think it's a multi combination of everything. So I'm a night owl. I naturally find my creativity at nighttime. But obviously during the day, that's when everybody else is awake, sorry. And that's when, you have to do your work, send out things. But at nighttime is when, for some reason, like yesterday, I wrote 3 poems just randomly. It came into my head and I just articulate them on my phone. And it was beautiful to be able to do that. But it's usually at nighttime when the world is still and the world is quiet. And I find that when everybody else is sleeping, that's when the energy of the universe is at its stillness. And that's when I find that I can create and write the most. I've been humbled to be. I think when you're a writer, you can stem into other things, which I've been lucky. There are some people who has a niche, a specific thing. So if they're a writer, might be a writer for an author, they might be a writer for poetry, they might be a writer as songwriting. But I found for me being able to do all of them, I don't know where they came from. Honestly, I honestly and humbly don't know where all of them came from. I started when I was only 14 years old writing songs, and I didn't think that it was actually going to go anywhere. I know my dad had this intriguing belief in me to do music, so he invested in me in the sense of emotionally, naturally through money also, but he had this belief in me for me to go out in the world and become a writer, but he wanted me to sing. So I sang for many years, but there was something in my heart, Steve, that said, no, I don't like this. I don't like being in the front. And I never have. But even though the universe granted me all these beautiful things in the sense of winning competitions, going out and meeting established artists, I found that there was something in my heart that wasn't happy. So then I decided, okay, Savia, I'll take a step back. What do you really want to do? So then I continued writing and I found my purpose in songwriting. And that was the key. And that was still at a very, very young age where I started to give my songs out to people in the world. And for some reason, it just worked. I can't tell you why. I can't tell you how.
You connected to it.
Just connected in the world. And from there, poetry stemmed. And when I was really young, I won awards for poetry 2 years in a row. These massive awards for international poet was absolutely phenomenal. And I didn't even know how to accept these. I wasn't used to that kind of attention at the time. And they just kept on growing. And I learned within myself that there are power in words. And it's not what you say in the world, it's how you say it. It's not what you do in the world, it's how you do it. So for me, that kept pushing me onwards and onwards to be able to do this. And I think from there, I decided to take a break because then I realized the industry isn't always what it seems to be. I'm sure you know this, Steve. The industry can kick us in our teeth sometimes, even if we feel like we're at our best.
Yes.
So I decided to take a break. And I said, I'm going to take a break. What can I do? And then my friend had a camera. And then this is what I mean. Everything aligns. My friend had a camera. He went on holiday and he said, Savia, have my camera. And I said, okay, cool. I'll take your camera and I'll do something with it. So I started to just take pictures. He came back from holiday and he said, Savia, are you serious? And I said, what are you talking about? What did I do? Because I always think I'm in trouble for something. So, so he turned around and he said, these pictures are awesome. And I was like, no, are you just playing with me? Are you just being a nice friend? Like, dude,
Right,
yeah,
right.
just so then he's like, no, I'm being serious. You should do this. And then he gave me his camera and I went out and I started doing, you know, photography for people. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to use all the money that I get from photography and buy my own camera with the photography money. And I always kind of like to keep things separate, songwriting with songwriting, photography with photography, and that's how I kind of do it. And then I went out, bought a camera, and I started getting clients. And before I knew it, I was doing publications for people. And this is the thing about life. You go on a journey, you say, when I get successful, but it's the journey that you need to embrace. It's not when you get to where you think you need to be. It's embracing the full length of the ups and downs of the journey. And before you even know it, you're where you want to be, and everybody else will see that. And that's the most wonderful thing to be able to do. But like I said before, like we both said, Steve, there's always ups and downs. There's always someone trying to kick you in the teeth. There's always jealousy. There's always envy. But you just got to let those things bypass you. Because if your heart is pure and your intentions are pure, you'll always consistently be okay, I think. And I think it's just remembering that life has a purpose and no one else can take that purpose away from you. So being able to be all these things and be a podcaster just like yourself and even us connecting to be able to do this is wonderful. And that's why I say everything in the universe aligns. It just takes time for it to align. And remember, the bigger the thing that you want in the life, the longer it's going to take for you to come. Don't look at somebody else's life and how they get it easy just because they might have family or friends who might invest in them a lot quicker and a lot more. How are you so sure that your path is not harder, but it's more rewarding in the sense of people coming towards you, people loving what you do, you loving yourself, to be able to carry on to do these beautiful things that you do?
And that's the key thing. When I came up for this idea for this show, it was something I needed. It was the height of the pandemic. We were all still in lockdown. The world was a fucking mess. I mean, the world has always been a fucking mess, everybody, right? That's another reality we all have to face. Things were not that good in August of 2020, and I just needed something good. And I knew in my heart that if I wanted this, there had to be all these other people out there who needed it as well. And I can't be alone, right? It's taking that leap that I mentioned off that cliff. And speaking of leaps, you started a podcast called Us People.
I did, yeah. Yeah.
I want to start here. You started this podcast at the beginning of 2020. You had this great idea. You had all this passion. And then on March 12th or 13th, something like that, the lockdown began. So talk to us for a second. You have the show, you want to share it, and the world stops spinning. And you, along with all of us, had to make a shift. I know you did.
Yeah.
How did you keep your passion for this going?
So for 8 or 9 months, I had this passion inside of me. I told my partner I had this passion inside of me, and they said to me, do it. They helped me research. We were researching for about 9 months. We were listening to other podcasts, and I'm like, I'm not connecting with these podcasts.
100%. That was me. Keep going.
I'm not connecting with these podcasts. So we keep going. We keep researching. We find people in the world who are not being, noticed, who are not connecting because they don't have 100,000 followers. They don't even have 10 followers, but they have a great story. So in my mind, I was like, no, I need to connect with these people. But the funny thing is, Steve, and this is where we talk about getting kicked down. I was sending out emails, I think, in the beginning of January 2020 or even December 2000, I think it was 2019. I was sending out email to people saying, I want to start a podcast. This is the concept. Will you kindly like to be on the podcast? And everyone was coming back to me saying this one sentence that drove me crazy. Yeah, when you interview someone, send me the interview. I'll listen to it and then I'll decide whether or not I want to come on the show. Is one of those. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be able to get anybody on my show. And that's how my heart felt at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I said, Savia, use your creative knowledge. Use the people around you. Ask the people around you. Ask the people who you've grown up.
You and me, sister. Exactly the same. I asked 18 friends. I did 18 test shows.
There you
Anyone
go.
listening, go back to the beginning and you'll hear 16 of them. 2 of them I chucked out. It's okay. My friends understood. Keep going. Yes.
So basically what happened is exactly the same as you. And that's the fundamental thing I love about how we do things is I asked friends and family, would they like to come on the show? So then I found out I got more yeses from them and they're like, yeah, I'm up for it. I'm going to do it. We build a studio in the house. We go out. Remember, this is COVID. We're not allowed out. But Savia being Savia, always in trouble, goes out and says, I'm going to get my stuff. I was going to use another word there. I'm going to get my stuff and I'm going to make sure that we make this happen. So we did. We got all the studio stuff and it was lucky being a songwriter. I already had a lot of the equipment already there. We didn't have the Roadcaster, for example. We didn't have it. We didn't even know how to use it, to be quite fair. Yeah, so we went out, we got one and partner, bless her. So she set everything up. She'd done all the research. She found the platform to be able to put everything together, to be able to do this. And I'm like, okay, right. And then she's like, you do the most important part, which are the questions, and the power of your words will align, and use your voice, Savia. Use your voice to do the work. And I'm like, okay, we've got this. So I started bringing in friends to be able to do this. I even done a quick podcast with my dad, which was hilariously funny. And just to hear my dad on the microphone, it just made me hysterically laugh. And he started singing and doing all sorts. He goes into his own tangent. So even if I ask him a question, he won't answer the question. He'll just go into his own thing. And which was phenomenal at the time. So then I found friends who were sound engineers, photographers, you name it. There's boxers, and I was very lucky to have a society of people around me who I had met through doing photography or doing songwriting or poetry, who I could just automatically go to. But don't be afraid to ask people. If you don't ask, you don't get in the world. And I always say that, manifest it. If you want it, you can have it. But sometimes it's about just doing the groundwork for it. So then I started doing these interviews. And once I got about 5 interviews, there was even a guy who I didn't even know, and I just found him. And I think I done photography. He asked me to do photography for an artist. And then I asked him, and he was a band himself. And I asked him, would he mind coming on the podcast? And the universe, thank you so much, universe. They said yes. And he was actually the first podcast I ever did. And from there, I kind of sent out that one along with the other ones out to people in the world. And from there, I started writing more and more and more to people. But I still get kicked in the teeth, Steve. Still getting kicked in the teeth because I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to do one podcast a week, that's 52 podcasts. That's a lot of podcasts.
Oh, I know.
That's a lot of You got to find 52 people a year.
Yep.
To be able to make your podcast sustainable and to put it out in the world. And podcasts don't pay for themselves as well. Guys, think of that too. So you have to make sure all these things you're thinking about. So luckily, I asked more and more people to come on the show. But then I realized it was COVID and no one was allowed to really go out and meet each other. Again, Savia being troublesome. I was working in this beautiful building, and I asked my manager, would it be okay if people came here as long as we had the distance between us? He said, yeah. He said, do whatever you want, because I was the only one in the building. I'm used to having 1,000 people in the building, but I was the only one in the building. So then I
Listen, no one is judging you right now. Every single person listening did something that they weren't supposed to do and they're not very proud of, and or did it out of not knowing they weren't supposed to do it, and or did it because fuck it, we were all gonna be gone by tomorrow. Continue.
Listen, that honestly, and it was phenomenal. I enjoyed it, and everyone came in one by one. I set times for everyone, and everyone came in to do their podcast. I set like a 2-hour gap between each person, and that gave me time to set up, to make sure all the questions were set up, to make the podcast, make sure the recording was all done, and we kept on doing that.
And it had to have been a little healing for you, as it did to connect with people, especially strangers in that moment at that time.
I love people. Steve, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your background is. You can tell me you've gone to jail. You can tell me, you, no, honestly, you can tell me that, you've done things in your life that you're not proud of. And with me, it'll be like, that's your past though. That's your past. That's not your future. That's your past. But the thing that people like to constantly do is judge you based upon how you look, judge you based upon your culture or your religion, judge you based upon, what you've done in your past that you may not have been proud of. And sometimes you do these things in your life for survival mode. Who am I to judge you based upon them? That doesn't work for me. That's not how life should be. And I just didn't care. Honestly, I didn't care. And I think that's what made the podcast what it is today, because of the sheer fact that I didn't judge people. I allowed people to come in and tell their story from their own, authentic and beautiful and ambient place, where I allowed people to cry. I allowed people to get angry. I allowed people to vent. I allowed people to make the podcast feel it was like some kind of therapy for them. And being able to use my voice in that way to make them feel like, whoa, I just felt like I had therapy, and walk out is phenomenal, because it changes a human being when they feel like someone is really listening to them.
Yes, they feel heard. And people listening right now, I know this because I listen to many podcasts where, I relate, even on a creative side. I may not be the same type of creative, but I can listen to your music. It touches me. I connect to it. And that's how communities build. That's how we come together. That's how change happens and we evolve.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about it. And I think being able to do that for people just highlighted even more for me and for them that I'm meant to do this. It's meant to be part of my purpose. I'm meant to speak to people. I'm meant to connect people together. Because even when I come off the podcast, Steve, I connect people together. So if they've come on my podcast and I say, you know what, you might be really good for this, or you might be able to work with this person, I think it's finding those beautiful elements where you're not a gatekeeper. And I find there are so many talented people in the world who feel stuck and go to places that are dark because they feel like no one's listening to them or wanting to help them. I like to be that bridge. I don't care what your title is. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you're a person who's abundantly materialistic. And believe me, I've done over 400 interviews, and there are people I'm like, wow, okay, I can see where you're going with your life because of how you think and how you feel. And that's not a judgment to them. It's just their perception of what life is. And it's just not mine.
Okay, good listener, right here is where our recording crapped out on us. We tried repeatedly on our end to reconnect, and it was a no-go. So we went old school, or oldish school, I guess we call it at this point, like I said, and Zoomed it. And when we did, Savia's mic on her end wouldn't connect. We were cursed, I tells you, I said that already. But cursed or not, the good must go on, even if our mics are about to sound a little bit different. So the question we now have is, the name of the show is called Us People. Who came up with it, and why that title?
Okay, so that's I love that question. So when people ask me that, I get really excited. So basically what it was, my partner said to me, honey, what do you want to call this? What? She said that, but she also said, what do you want it to mean to you? What do you want to give to the universe? What do you want to feel? What do you want the people to feel? And I said, I want it to be about us as people. She goes, there's your title. That was it. And
Wow.
yeah, and I said there are so many people in the world who feel like they're not being recognized, who feel like they're not being noticed, who feel like they haven't been heard because they haven't got, like I said, even 1,000 followers or 500 or even 10, to be quite fair. And circumstances are different for every single person on the planet. Not everyone is going to have 100K or 200K or 2 million followers. And it's not about the number of followers, it's about the quality of followers that you have. But society now concentrates more on the numbers, making people think that numbers are more important than the people. So after we came up with the title, my partner said to me, what do you want to call it in a sense. And I said, I want it to be about us as people. And she goes, there's your title. And us people became alive. It is now a real thing. It's in your house. So when you say it, it becomes true. So we started with us people, and I have a friend who I've been lucky to have for years, and she's a designer. So we came up with the concept, and I want it to be two people back to back, the logo to be two people back to back, basically guarding each other, safeguarding each other, having each other's backs and saying it's okay. No matter what you say, you don't get judged for it. And that's what the logo is about for me. The logo is about two people. It doesn't matter if it's a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, a man and a man. It doesn't matter. But it was just signifying that we have each other's backs. You're allowed to say anything. You're allowed to have your opinions. Even if we don't agree on opinions, you're allowed to have them. And with communication, with honesty, with trust, we together as people know that we can speak and be heard. And I think that's important. And I think that's the best thing I find about us people. It makes me smile knowing that we put this together, knowing that this is something for the people in the world. This is something for them to know that they don't have to worry about having millions of followers. Like I said before, it's just about them having a story. And I find it's always the people that hide away in the world, Steve, have the best stories ever. Those are the people that you need to have on the show. Those are the people that affect people's lives. Those are the people that make a difference in the world without them even knowing. So that's how the Us People podcast came to light.
And where do people find the Us People podcast?
I like
I'm so good at this job, aren't I? It's only been 6 years. Keep going.
no, not at all. No, this is what happened. This is why we love it. I love those moments. Those are the best moments to actually keep.
Yeah, oh no, it's staying in. Trust me, that's staying
No.
in.
Those are the best moments to keep and make people laugh and bring people even closer to who you are as an individual. I always say, like, the imperfections are the perfections of who you are as a person. And I find that phenomenal. So the best place for you to be able to find the Yes People podcast is simply to go on type in Google. Is that easy? Us People podcast. It's just US, but it's not a US as in USA. It's just US. Us People podcast. But you can also go on the website, which is just simply www.uspeoplepodcast.com, and you'll find so many different things there. You'll find every type of interview that I've done, which is over about 300 interviews or 400 interviews that I've most probably done with so many different people. You'll find a section where you'll be part of the community, where you can go on the inspirational page where I write all these beautiful stories. So every Tuesday, every podcast that comes out has an inspirational story to go with it. It's like 2,000 characters, I would say, where we speak about different subjects, but within whatever that person or the guest has spoken about, I pull it all into one story, and I allow it to go into the world for you to have your opinion on it, around it, to be authentically connected to it, which I find really nice. You can also find books that I've written on the Yes People podcast page. You can also find stickers and socks. We even had a brand sponsor us some awesome socks in there. Go, guys, go out and check that out. That's pretty cool as well. But then you can also connect with me if you have any questions. Please do. No question that I felt like I cannot answer. And that's a beautiful thing within itself. We can answer it together. So definitely please go there. You can also go to the Savia Rocks website as well, where it has links to the photography that I do. It has links to the Us People podcast itself. And then it also has a link to the new website, which is coming up, which is my songwriting poetry website for you guys to connect to. So please don't be a stranger. Don't be scared. The one beautiful thing that in life that I always say to people is ask the question, because you never know where it's going to take you. And thank you so much, Steve.
Oh, we're not done. We got more to do.
Oh, I love this.
We have more to do. We wrap up the shows with 2 more questions. Question number 1 is this. Could be anybody, any person, any type of person, anything. The question is, who inspires you?
My wife inspires me. My wife inspires me a whole heap. Even so much so that I don't even realize it sometimes myself. Yeah, when I think of her, I smile. And it's like ear to ear. It's like ear to ear. She has this undenying belief that anything I want in the world can be mine. But I always say to her, everything is a we, it's not an I. Because sometimes she focuses more on the I, but she's saying, you, and I'm like, no, we're not a you, we are a we. And and she's definitely one of the people that inspire me the most. There have been people who have come into my life and completely made it go upside down. I think even Steve, I'm sure you have that as well. Where someone has come into your life and completely made it go upside down. And you don't expect them to, they just do. And I thank those people too who have done that, because they have allowed me to find growth within myself and allowed me to understand that there are still things within me that I need to learn, that I need to evolve to, that I need to inspire myself to be. But one of them would definitely be my wife. One of them will be my grandma also. Without her, I don't think that I would have become a writer as well, because I'm doing all the things that she wants to do in her life, or wanted to do, because she's passed away, but wanted to do in her life. And it shows that spirituality does exist, and how generational talent can be passed down to the next person. And there's one more person, which is my grandfather. He's also passed away too. And he taught me one thing that is phenomenal. And my grandma did too. It's kindness. Kindness is such a wonderful thing in the world. And people will find it so easy to be horrible, because it's like this instant, I'm going to be horrible thing. And it seems so easy for people to be horrible in the world nowadays, which we both know. But for me, my grandmother and grandfather taught me kindness. So much kindness. Give your last. It doesn't matter if the person next to you is already wealthy and they don't want to give anything. But if you have to give, you give, because you're giving it from a pure-hearted place. And I think that's why kindness and compassion and understanding and non-judgment is so important to me, Steve.
The final question is not a question. It's the way we close the show.
Cool.
You can
Let's do it.
be anything you want. Finish the sentence. Tell me something good.
Anything I want and tell you something good. I like this one. You are abundantly beautiful in the world. And never forget it.
Thank you, Savia, for sharing your good in all its forms with us. I can't wait to play with you this weekend at Slideshow here in London. Next time on World Gone Good.
I had the thought that we're all processing a lot of grief. And again, this is before bread and butter grief, which is just that our parents are dying, our friends are dying, loved ones, people we know, and coworkers, and all sorts of things we're experiencing loss with, as well as the other things we talked about. So I talked to my friend Rachel and I said, let's try to hold a space, hold an online space, because I've got friends around the world who would appreciate this, and see what happens.
Tess Rafferty is embracing her grief in the goodest way possible. We talk about standing back up after you've been knocked down, the importance of putting things out there, and what our favorite theater has been so far here in London. Tess is performing in the very first UK Slideshow this Sunday with Savia and me, so we talk about that too. Oh, and we recorded together on a coffee boat on the water in Little Venice, London. Not Italy, London. How many more ways can I sell you on this brand new episode? Sheesh. Until then, be good.